This is Cornelius Neal alongside Coach Kincaid. Welcome to KBL Game Day and the coach's interview right here on Idabel's first 96.7 KBEL. We're live here from First State Bank Studio here in Idabel. Idabel has their district opener this evening as we'll be making a trip to Tulsa to take on the Holland Hall Dutch. Do believe they're a top 10, maybe top 5 team in Class 3A right now, according to most of the rankings I've seen. And before we get into them, we're going to talk about last night's game at Warrior Nation Stadium. The middle school teams locked up with Broken Bow. They were a pair of good games. The 7th graders had the lead, and then they, unfortunately for Broken Bow, they scored on the last play of the game as time expired. Broken Bow wins 20-16. Really hard-fought game. And then the 8th graders, Idabel wins that one in the defensive slugfest. 6-0. So a lot of good players in red and black at the middle school level. Was going to give you a chance to shout them out and talk about them a little bit. The first thing that jumped off when I was watching them as I was doing scoreboard and announcing duty last night, I don't know if that's just a running back or a fullback. Where's number 47? Runs the ball up the middle really well. And the first thing that came to mind, he reminds me of a Mike Allstott that used to play for Tampa Bay, and that was his thing, right up the middle, and he had a little speed to him, and he put his head down and get those yards, so I've already dubbed him Baby Allstott. Who is that young fella?
That's our guy Tyler, man. He's a Denison Wildcat that comes over and plays football for us in Idabel, and you know, we're glad to have him. You know, he played Little League down here in our system, in our system with Coach Galloway. And, you know, Tyler's a really, really good kid. You know, he's big, he's strong. You know, he picks up some big-time yardage right there. You know, we wanted him to get that 4th and 2 last night that kind of, you know, would have flipped the field if we would have punted it and gave Broken Bow a longer distance to go. But, you know, we had trust in that kid to get 2 yards. And, you know, just on that play, he wasn't able to get it. But, you know, later down that drive, like you said, they scored the last-second touchdown. A couple kids just eyes stuck in the backfield. You know, young mistakes, young guys that we talked about this morning and try to correct. And, you know, just little things that 7th graders are going to have to learn throughout the way, you know, before they get to the big stage of high school in a couple of years. But we're trying to teach them now and teach them young, you know. Like you mentioned, that 8th grade group, you know, there's some really, really talented kids in both of those groups there in 7th and 8th grade classes. You know, the 8th grade class had a great game defensively, won 6-0. You know, we would like to move the ball a little bit better on offense and push it down the field a little bit more. But, you know, you can't complain about a W there, especially one where you pitch a shutout. You know, defense played outstanding. You know, our defensive line played amazing. You know, Marcus Wary Jr. is a great young prospect for us, and Janelius Williams, Mike and Murray, you know, those cats can go, you know, that we have a few of them in that class that can really, really go at 8th grade. And so I'm excited about them and their development. You know, they're getting the schemes down defensively for sure. And like I told them, you know, we're trying to install as much as we can on offense so that next year in the future, you guys are ready to roll. So, you know, I'm excited about those young guys and glad that they're getting opportunities to play games.
Yeah. Future looking bright here in Idabel for football program. The lone touchdown was scored by Mike and Murray. It was a 69-yard run, and yeah, only points of the game for them. And if you haven't had a chance to come watch these kids play, well, they'll be back in action Monday here against Valiant, correct, or is it Tuesday?
Monday or Tuesday. I believe it might be Monday.
I think it is Monday because I looked and made sure to announce it as everybody was heading out. So, once again, Idabel Middle School will host Valiant Monday evening at 5:30. I do believe there is a JV game,
yes,
correct?
That'll be 7th and 8th combined, and then a JV game to follow.
All right, and yeah, it was a really good atmosphere out there between fans, cheerleaders, and everything like that. So you know, come out and support everybody at Idabel High School and the middle school. So getting into this week's game, as we're getting ready to make that trip to Tulsa to take on Holland Hall. What has the vibe as a team been like, you know, coming off of a victory and getting the first win of the season? How have things been going this week?
You know, we kind of approached it the same way we did last week. You know, we're preparing. It's about us. We're trying to be the best team that we can be. Truthfully, you know, just attacking what's on our schedule. Whether we're running, whether we're practicing, whether we're getting after it, one-on-one battles or whatever we're doing. We're making sure that we're just attacking the day, and that's kind of been our mindset going into it. Is just going here and to attack them. I know this is Holland's homecoming, so they scheduled us for their homecoming. So this is, exciting for us. They're a top 5 team, like you said, across the state, and a lot of people are high on Holland. And so, I'm excited for the opportunity to go out here and compete with them and get on the field with them, especially, with how our kids, how we played last season, versus them. Different teams. Obviously, they're a different team. We're a different team. But we're excited about this opportunity, man. They're a really good football team. They're very disciplined, very sound. But we're getting there ourselves to be disciplined and sound, and we're really athletic. We're bigger, stronger, faster across the board. We just have to put it together and play 4 quarters worth of football.
Yep, all 48 minutes. Don't take a play off. And another thing I was going to ask you about, is, as a player, is it easier to take a little extra coaching after a victory, after you get that first win on the season? Because one thing I made note of, and we mentioned this over the weekend, but the turnovers, but the penalties weren't as bad. I think 11 for 80 yards last week in Ashdown, and shout out to your defense. They weren't penalized at all. Your penalties came on offense and special teams. The ones on offense were all 5-yard penalties, and then I do believe the special teams had a couple of 10 and 15-yard varieties in there. So I know, as a player, it'd be easier to take that extra coaching as a win, after a win, and not thinking about, oh man, we lost again. So
Yes,
how's
sir.
that been throughout the week?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of just what I mentioned earlier about us attacking it, about those kids attacking it. Monday morning during the period, they came out sluggish and a little lazy, lackadaisical, and we kind of talked about, hey, this district time, it's playoff time to go earn a playoff spot, and if you want to come out lazy and lackadaisical, just don't show up at all, And so since that first Monday 30-minute practice that during the period. When we double back after school, since then it's been great practices all the way throughout. They've really came and attacked it and showed some leadership. We had a couple kids miss some running the other day, and so a couple of the older seniors had volunteered to run with them, and it turned out that the whole team decided, hey, we're all going to run these extra ones, even though we already all of us got our conditioning in, and these 3 guys didn't. The whole team decided to get extra conditioning in with those guys, and it shows the level of maturity that these guys are growing at, and they're growing at a rapid pace. Learning the systems, figuring it out, seeing where they have to line up to things, and getting it by themselves. And they're not really having us to have to stay on their backs about it, and they're attacking it. So I'm excited about it.
That's absolutely great to hear. And then I also wanted to just mention, whatever y'all did last week as far as the conditioning and, keeping these kids hydrated, it absolutely worked, because I do not remember seeing not one kid in white jerseys leaving that field to cramp up or having to take a play off or anything like that. So that was a good thing to see in Ashdown, and hopefully, that will continue throughout district play, because, this is it right here. Time to get out there, play those 4 quarters, and work on earning a playoff spot. And it's absolutely there. We're going to get into tonight's opponent in Holland Hall, once again ranked, pretty highly in Class 3A. I did have a chance to watch them on film a few times this week. Really solid team in all aspects of the game. They can run it. They can throw it. They are, out of spread. I saw a lot of I guess you would call it 12 personnel. Yes, also, two rod outs, 2 tight end sets. They also have a bunch formation. They have a backup running back that they use to run it from the quarterback spot. I think that's number 7. First thing I noticed, I watched them against Will Rogers. They lined up in a 4-man front, and then when they played their big rival Cassia Hall, they lined up in a 3-man front. So what do you anticipate seeing from them? Have you had a chance to practice?
Yeah, kind of looking at them, they kind of adjust. They run the same defense we do. They run 3-3-5 defense. So they adjust with a tight end. They roll down to a 4-man surface, which you'll kind of see us do a little bit of the same, especially with their heavy 12 personnel stuff that they do with double tight ends. They like to keep a tight end in the game most of the time. They will get into a little bit of 10 personnel when it's dire passing situations, which their first 3 games they haven't necessarily needed any dire passing situation. They've controlled the game pretty well. So looking at us defensively versus them, we're going to try to keep their offense off the field. Experienced quarterback over there, senior guy that played versus us last year that just missed a couple throws last year by about a yard or so down the field that, they wish that they could have got back. And, I talked to one of their coaches this summer, and, they said that this is one that that was one last year that they really wanted, and they wanted to get it back. So I'm guessing that's why we're their homecoming. And so they really want this one, and they're going to be fired up. But, they just don't know that these Warriors are going to be fired up just as well to go hit them in the mouth. So
Absolutely. I mean, it's something about being that homecoming game that gives you that little extra. Oh, do you think that you're just going to come in and get an easy one over us because we're your homecoming school? So good chance to shock 3A and shock the state by knocking off this Holland Hall team tonight in their own field, and definitely looking forward to that. I wasn't aware that tonight's their homecoming, so that will get some kids' antennas up, and as the fan base, because I'm anticipating having a good crowd there. Our band will be there, so with them having homecoming, I get that's why they won't be able to march during halftime. So let's see. Defensively, they do get to the ball pretty well, but a couple of things I noticed was it seems like the middle of the field opened up from time to time. And taking it back into last week, y'all really ran the ball well up the middle against Ashdown, mainly with Quincy Pond. He was over 100 yards rushing. Quarterback Dixon, he also had some good runs. He averaged, I think, 8-9 yards a carry, and was able to score one from a couple yards out. So there are some opportunities, it seems like, to get them up the middle if they happen to over pursue, or they're a little too far up ahead on the line of scrimmage. What do you think?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we looked at them, defensively. We were able to practice against us pretty much. We were able to put our kids in situations instead of having to put our kids in the 4-3 or 3-4 or different defensive scheme that, they may not be comfortable with. Our scout team guys this week, they were comfortable with our defense for the most part. So they were able to line up and they were able to work on their defensive stuff for themselves, especially our younger guys over there on the scout team. They were able to work on themselves, but they were also able to give us a good look, a much better look than we normally get because it was our defense. So, game plan tonight is really just get it to our playmakers early and let them make plays and see how they adjust to certain things and different, a new formation and things like that we have. I'm excited to see what exactly they're going to throw at us defensively when we line up in certain things, and then our adjustments that we'll have out of it. It's just kind of seeing and keying on a few guys. Like you said, the middle of the field, it looks open, but their backers, they do a really good job of dropping, especially after they recognize it's pass. They're downhill first, and they've done a good job defensively. I mean, this team's given up 13 points in 3 games. So this is a really, really good football team, but at the end of the day, I think we're a really, really good football team, and I think it's going to be a battle tonight, and they're going to get a lot more than what they've thought they're going to get.
I love that attitude, that positivity, because that absolutely can't happen. We able to strike on the big play, and I don't know if there's been a team there hasn't been a team that's been able to pull that off on a Holland Hall this season. So that could be a surprise for them, because we hit some big plays last week. I know we had a pass to Benny that went for 92 in the score. I think we had one to Jordan that was like 65, 68 yards for a score. So we're going to be able to match them on speed. Maybe have a little more speed on the outside if it's just a matter of getting that ball to a Benny Intefwa or a Jordan Lewis. And then there's some other things that I know can be accomplished through the offense and running the ball up the middle and not turning the ball over, especially. That will be big, especially with your backs, with Quincy, with Jay Sean. And then if you get the young stud, Jacarius Frost in there some way or another, yeah, ball security's a big thing, especially once you get into district play.
Yes, sir. Yeah, taking care of the ball has been one of our big focal points. Especially with, like you said, the freshman, Papa for Jacorius Frost. Everybody calls him Papa. So, Papa struggled to hold on to the ball. 3 fumbles in 2 weeks, but like you said, the young kid's explosive. We're trying to find ways to let him touch the ball a little bit. Give Quincy a break, Jordan or Benny a break here or there, Quincy, and Jay Sean's lightning in a bottle right there that we got. That he finds a hole, or he doesn't even need a hole, just needs a little crease to be able to hit it as small as he is. And he runs tough for being about 5'7", 140. He runs really, really tough, and so I'm really, really excited about being able to take care of the ball tonight. That's one thing we talked about. As long as we control the ball and we manage our turnovers. I think we had the one fumble on offense alone. We had 2. Quincy Palm fumbled it twice, but we got one of them back.
Right.
But we lost 1 on offense, and then 2 more on special
teams. Yeah.
So cutting the special team stuff down, but offensively, we've lowered that number every week. And so hopefully this week it goes to 0 turnovers lost, and special teams we can get that rolling and get that picked up together to where we're not having any turnovers, because turnovers are crucial for us, and so that's, like you said, a crucial part of district play right there.
All right. Let me get to this thought here. I know you want to keep Holland Hall off the field, and that's completely understandable. Now, how do you stop them when they are on offense? Because if you can get some pressure on the quarterback, make him uncomfortable, that could rush him. I mean, I know he's a senior. I know he's known for so many yards. He's got weapons. But, we got some guys that play up front that can get some pressure on their quarterback. Chris Bledsoe, namely 15 tackles and 4 sacks last week. Get some pressure on him. Make him throw a little earlier than he'd like to, maybe a little later than he'd like to. And, we got guys in the secondary that may be able to at least tip that pass away or get the interception, turn the ball over, get us the ball back. So, also, yards after catch. Cut that down. Make that 5-8 yard gain just that, because I really didn't see them throw the ball down the field a whole lot. They just like to sustain drives and work their way down the field. I didn't see a big play.
They had a couple verticals, a couple post shots that they took, a couple hitch and goes that, we've been ripping with our guys all week, just letting them know, hey, they will take the easy stuff if you give it to them. If we're going to be off at 8 to 10 yards or whatever it is, and they're going to turn up and just throw it right now at 5. We just can't be too overly eager to go make the play, and he turns it up on us down the sideline on the hitch and go. But those are the things that our kids have worked and prepped on, and we got our kids aligned right. I believe that, that we're going to put them in position to be successful versus that offense. And like you said, with the pass rush, getting extra guys in the mix right there, doing some things up front to confuse their offensive line, and hopefully that we're getting, our guys prepared, and hopefully we've gotten them prepared to get out here and know what's going on there offensively, because they haven't ran much. And, being in blowout games, you do keep it simple later on in the game when you get some subs in and backups in for them. So they haven't shown a lot. So they have some more stuff up their sleeve. And
right.
So, we went back and all throughout the week on scout team for our defense, for our first defense or second defense, we've been repping, some secondary things that they may have showed last year, some things that they maybe needed in big time moments. Big time things, and we went back and watched old film from them a year ago, and kind of just showing our kids what's a possibility of what's seen. You've seen these 2 games on film. Hey, go back and watch last year's too. Watch the 3 games that we have on them last year also. See what they're doing offensively, because they'll go back to that stuff. They'll go back to the stuff that they hit on and wanted to hit on. Especially, I know last year they tried to run a reverse pass on us, and the receiver had a miscommunication and didn't go out for the pass.
Right.
It was just end up being a reverse for a negative gain, I believe. But, those type of things we threw them at practice just to make sure that they were prepared for it, So our kids are prepared, I just, just have to go out there and execute. And so they'll be pumped up, believe that. So, I'm excited.
Hey, it's great to hear. And a couple more questions, and we'll get you out of here. How's the team health-wise? I know Crew Corsi's missed the last few weeks. Is he going to be available this week?
Yeah, crew will come in and spot some defensively stuff, some defense for us this week at backer. You know, if we need a guy to get a break. You know, hopefully Benny breaks for 90 plus again. Hopefully we're not backed up at 90 plus, but we get a goal line stand, we might be. But you know, if Benny breaks or something like that, we need somebody to just get in a quick breather. Crew's ready to go. As is Davion Bird, another backup backer for us that's played, you know, really well the last couple weeks, coming in and learning his role and knowing what to do. So we got him back partially. You know, he's not full health, but you know, his 70% is really good and still. So hopefully that he can still get in there and make a few plays for us when we need him, and hopefully we can keep him healthy. So
Right. Anybody else missing or coming back into action this week? I think we had some linemen that missed last week, or a couple that I noticed anyway.
yeah, no, everybody for the most part is healthy. We get Angelo Luvano back, be a special teams guy. He just got cleared yesterday, so you know he hasn't done much conditioning or health or practice wise. So you know he probably won't play as much, but to be able to get him back, he'll be big on us for special teams and some spot us on some defense and offense from time to time. You know, just got to cover up his elbow brace there. But,
Right.
you know, glad to get him back also. Offensive line-wise, you know, we did get a kid cleared to be eligible, so I don't know how much he'll play tonight, but we'll start repping him in there some more and have another lineman on standby to be ready to go.
Absolutely. You can never have enough depth playing up front. Well, let's get you out of here with this. Final words for Warrior Nation, for anybody that plans on making that trip or anybody that's going to stay home. Let me just leave the floor to you, and we'll get you out of here.
Sir. Yeah, well, I know, you know, it's a long drive to Tulsa, you know, but, you know, this will be a big game. They're going to have a lot of people there in their stands, and it's their homecoming, so it's going to be packed on their end. I just say come out and pack it out. The band's going to do a great job of keeping the environment high for us, so, you know, if you guys could come and add on to it, it'll be perfect. Also know that they do have a stream up or something like that for YouTube that you can watch if you cannot make it. But you know, we want everybody there, but there is a stream up if you cannot make it. But we appreciate your support always, all the time, and you know, we really do, you know, like I said, appreciate you guys. We really, really do. Thank you guys.